Howdy team, Matt from Design Engine. I want to share with you a couple moves that we showed Newell Rubbermaid this past week while they were learning Creo for the first time for some of their team members, their industrial designers and their mechanical engineers. We're in assembly mode and we want to place components. We've got a couple different ways that can happen. We'll assemble, this benchtop vise. We'll start with this first one. I think anyone familiar with a CAD package in assembly mode knows that it requires 3 degrees in which it has to be constrained. If we tick into the placement, this is where all the most information is available in Creo if you're learning it for the first time. Notice that I can grab the the planes, both for the assembly and for the part, but until I tick in and say select component, then it's only going to let me select items on that component level. And then it goes purple over here. Now we're able to select the items for the assembly as well. Get into that new constraint. If I want to select that component item, that front plane to that front plane, and that back plane, that top plane to that top plane. There, the color will change. It gets fully constrained. And just notice that you've got these words in here. What a lot of seasoned engineers don't know is that you can manipulate the constraint from the right hold down menu under here. We're going to talk a little bit more about that right hold down menu in the next break.
When we found out about Design Engine, I was expecting it to be a very formal class, like in a classroom, but it was actually kind of a really laid-back setup, which was perfect because it's tailored to kind of each person's ability, which is nice, so you don't get behind in the class, and it was overall a very good experience. It was not only the classroom atmosphere that was very laid-back, it was just in general. The instructor, Bart, he would take us to lunch each day, and we got to see like all the different cool restaurants in the area. Bart was very, he would give you analogies that would help a lot. He would make the environment feel very relaxed, which was a great thing. He makes you feel like you're in a comfortable classroom environment. And then as for Matt, he was very good at giving very specific details about the steps you should take to do this or to model this. Which was very helpful because for somebody like me, I haven't used Creo that much, so it helps to get maybe 2 or 3 like overviews of the process. I thought it was very cool that I got to learn about surfacing and top-down modeling. I found top-down modeling to be very useful. That's a very cool way to make different parts that are all referred to by the same initial solid geometry. I thought that was very cool. Surfacing, I had heard people talk about it, and I know there's a course down the road, but it was very cool to get kind of a initial start on surface modeling, so I really like that. And as far as the software in general, I would always use the software as my own, or I would have my own distinct path of designing something, and it was very cool to see how other people do it and what they think is the easiest way, and then you can modify your methods to be very efficient in modeling. I think it gave me a good perspective being in the class with an industrial designer. I know that as a mechanical engineer, I hear a lot about conflicts and like lack of connection between mechanical engineers and industrial engineers. So I think this type of class where it's geared toward both of them to work together is very useful to develop a very collaborative team and effective working together, or to be effectively working together. So that, I think, is something I can use going back to work to be able to work with this other team member that I know has had some difficulty working with MEs in the past. I would definitely recommend Design Engine to a friend. This week in general has just been very different than a normal class you would take in a week. I like the experience where you get to get outside of the classroom, you get to go eat at great restaurants, you get to hang out, learn about the people you're working with. The instructor, Bart, he has a lot of good stories, so it's a very entertaining, it's definitely worth your time for a week, so I would definitely recommend it to a friend.
Alright team, we're back here in assembly mode. Let's assemble these components in a very efficient manner, going from point A to point B with the least amount of time and least amount of resources. Right hold down, there's that default constraint that'll mate the coordinate systems together. Middle click to accept. Let's assemble another component, ISO2. Default constraint isn't going to work. I think what most people are going to do is pull it on with the WYSIWYG editor with the axes. If I hold Control and Alt and use that middle mouse, I can tumble without using the WYSIWYG. I think a lot of people don't know that that exists. Let's choose this, that axis to that axis. Notice that Pro Engineer takes its path of least resistance, doing whatever the easiest computation is. Let's call that coincident. Let's make a distance happen here between this side and right click through to that side. And that one's can be fully constrained, but that one's also allowing assumptions, that it can't rotate. Just note that that's going to happen here. Preview's lying to us in that case. Let's redefine that. It's a little confused, so let's redefine what's going to happen here with that distance. Let's untick allow assumptions and get this sorted out. Get into a new constraint here with, and if I tick inside these boxes, it'll really control that selection set. Here it's doing an angle offset instead. Tick into a parallel along that way. Let's add one more component in here, but we're going to duplicate it. Assemble the plate to go inside this jaw, as well as that that little bit here, axis to axis. So that one's being told to go normal. Let's have that one go coincident. And then this one's a little confused about which way to go. Let's right hold down, tell it to flip. Flip that constraint. There we go. It's going to need a little bit of help sorting itself out to make that path of least resistance. Let's right click through, find that back face to that back face. Let's call that. It's being told to do a distance. It's taking that path of least resistance. Let's call that coincident. This is allowing assumptions. It's not necessarily one that we want to happen here. New constraint. Right click, or that's a left click, then another left click. It's not going to let it go coincident, because that can't happen geometrically. Let's call it parallel instead. We'll say OK, and then let's duplicate this component over using this little guy, repeat. As long as we pre-select that component. Pre-select that component, repeat becomes available. We're going to take all three of these constraints, add one iteration of this component with the left click. It gives us a little bit of help down here with the word select align the axis. There's that one. Select a mating surface, that's that second constraint, and select that planar surface for that parallel. There it goes, job done. Tick confirm. We've got 4 parts in there pretty quickly. Come see us in Chicago next time you're in town at designengine.com. We'd love to talk to you.